that type of a scenario. So on the left-hand side, you've got the current dashboard. And so you've got current data only. You've got a simple cost and schedule calculation. Anybody remember all the emphasis on earned value management? I remember it. And has anybody looked at the cost and schedule calculation in here? On the dashboard? It doesn't represent or even come close to reflecting earned value management. But again, it was what they had to deal with. And so, you know, they used it, it provided some perspective. It actually, you know, in relative terms, it allowed the citizens to compare across investments and in certain ways compare across you know, agencies. Although I have to say that it doesn't take into consideration too much of the complexity of various projects. I mean, they try to take that into account because they have some CIO evaluations that are kind of an attempt to, you know, provide some input into, you know, what the CIO thinks about a particular investment. But so you've got this cost and schedule calculation, very important. Not sure that it gets where they want it to be. And then it has no search, and it has a limited set of navigational capabilities. And so on the right-hand side, you can see what it might evolve into. And so you'll have, bless you. So you might have the ability to look at trend data. So why is that important? So anybody who's, and you've probably heard, if you've heard Vivek Kundra speak, you've heard him talk about this being a management tool. He says it over and over and over again. And he wants to manage, you know, the IT investments using this tool. And so the trend data gives you a perspective on the continuity of the project or the investment, and I will differentiate between those two because that's a very significant difference. And then it has a better cost and schedule calculation. Anybody know Dominic Sales? Dominic Sales from OMB is working on this, and we work with him. Tanya and I work with him on this. And then you have enhanced navigation and search. That's probably going to come out in the next iteration. And so you'll have something that looks like the right-hand side. It'll have a little bit better graphics, a little bit better navigation, and it'll have better underlying calculations, and it'll actually have an approach towards something that can be used as a management tool. And so, you know, we'll take a look at this, and I might also say that there are probably going to be other features that you're going to find. Anybody have to go through a tech stat review? Dave, okay. And for those of you that might not know what a tech stat is, a tech stat is a very intimate and helpful engagement with our colleagues at OMB, where they take a look at one of your investments and they say, okay, what's going on with this? Is it going well? And is it not? And typically they take a look at that from the perspective of OMB rather than Dave or me. And so what we have is we have an open and honest and collaborative sharing of perspectives that results typically in some action items that typically the agency has to own, that gives you a better idea of what is going on with the particular investment, and it also allows you refocus and to do things better, because there's always room for improvement, right? And so TechStat is a process, but it also is a result, because as with any review of an investment or a project, it has certain pieces of information, certain nuggets, certain action items, and so you're going to probably see in the next release of the dashboard support for the TechStat results. That's a big deal, quite honestly, because it kind of opens the kimono, if you will, for the citizens to see what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, and it actually approaches more of that management tool where you're doing kind of a collaborative IB&V of investments and with OMB. And so as much as we might feel uncomfortable doing these types of things, it is a very open environment. It's an open process, and so you can go ahead and you can actually engage with OMB in this regard. You're going to have enhanced portfolio performance views. Okay, so what is a portfolio? Anybody want to offer some kind of a perspective on what a portfolio might be? Because there's various attitudes about what a portfolio is. So a portfolio can be a collection of investments, but for what purpose? Is it a functional orientation? Is it an organizational aggregation? I mean, typically right now, the way we look at things and everything is driven right now by the budget process. I mean, I think we all recognize that. And so this is kind of a move away from that budget-centric approach to things. So a portfolio is no longer viewed as a set of investments for a particular organization. It's now moving towards a portfolio of investments or a set of investments that support some kind of a functional goal. And this is, make no mistake about it, this is a landmark moment. Because in our budget-driven process, what you tend to have is, I mean, let's stop and think about it. When you take a look at portfolios of investments based on organizations, you have intentionally and knowingly created a stovepipe. Because when you do that, and you take a look at all of this stuff by organization, nobody is looking across those organizations. So that's how we get things like 50 financial accounting systems, or 50 procurement systems, or more. I mean, shoot, we might have that many in HHS in some of our areas, particularly in the grants area. We do a lot of grants at HHS. We send a lot of money out the door, and so everybody takes that very seriously. And so, by God, we're going to do this right. We're going to have a system that does this. So every single organization or every single division at HHS has their own way of doing this. And it's all well intended, but nobody looks across it from a portfolio perspective, a functional portfolio perspective. So the next iteration will allow you to do that. It'll allow you to take a look at